Hey third grade writers, this is Miss Griffiths and I'm going to be showing you guys today how to annotate, how to take notes and what kinds of notes to take on the fable that you have chosen to work with. Before I get started, I just want to make sure that you guys have found the fables in the writing page of Google Classroom. And I also wanted to make sure that before you watch this video, you watch video number 1 that Miss Lamera made. And it's all about choosing your fable, how to make a copy and name it, and also how to use Google Jamboard, which is a new feature in students' Google Drive. And we're going to be using it to mark up and annotate the fables, and I'm going to be showing you all about that today. So if you didn't see Miss Lamera's video, please go check it out and do the steps, and then come back to mine. Okay, so you should have your fable saved, copied, and renamed in Jamboard. This is the one I'm going to be modeling with, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. I know it's not one of the fables that we posted for you guys. This is the one that we've been working with and modeling as a class. And I really want you guys to come up with your own amazing observations and ideas from your fable. All I did so far was made it a little smaller, like Miss Lamera showed, so I can mark up and fit some writing on the sides. And in today's video, I have this video and I'm going to make one more quick one after. It's 2 parts. I'm just going to be showing you 2 different ways to read your fable and annotate in 2 different ways. And another way to think about this is it's kind of like we're gonna be practicing reading this fable through 2 different lenses, 2 different reading lenses. I pulled up this image of sunglass lenses just to make a comparison. If you are looking to buy yourself a new pair of sunglasses, you might pick a different colored lens to use depending on your purpose. So maybe you would pick gray if you really did care about reducing glare. Maybe you would pick yellow or orange if you were living somewhere where it was hazy or foggy. On the bottom, maybe you would pick red or rose to soothe your eyes and have more comfort. So same thing, if we're reading a fable, if we're reading any text, we want to choose a lens to read it with, choose a purpose, so we can get so much more out of it. So the first lens that we're going to look at with our fable, and I made this to help you guys see it clearly. I'll post this on our websites too. Reading lens number 1, we're going to be paying attention to a main character's character traits, maybe inner traits or outer traits. We're going to be paying attention to their actions and any patterns we notice, anything we see them doing again and again. Thinking about their motivations. Why do they do the things they do in the story? And then thinking about and noticing how the character might change, especially after the turning point. We know from our reading lessons as well that any story, whether it's a short fable or a whole novel, has one or more big turning points where things or events really happen that change things for the character and usually changes the character too. So I'm about to read this. I've read it already a few times, but this time I'm going to read with my reading lens, specifically paying attention to those things about the character, the boy. I really liked Miss Lamera's idea about using one color in Google Jams to highlight and kind of sticking to that color. So I'm going to stick with blue for reading lens number 1. All right, so this is what we want you to do with your fable too. I'm going to model right now reading it out loud, and pay attention as I highlight parts that specifically have to do with these things we talked about the character. A shepherd boy tended his master's sheep near a dark forest not far from the village. Soon he found life in the pasture very dull. All he could do to amuse himself was to talk to his dog or plan his shepherd's pipe. So already I've noticed a few things I want to highlight. Soon he found life in the pasture very dull. So it didn't take very long for him to feel dull or bored. And it seems like he really likes to amuse himself. I'm going to keep reading. One day, as he sat watching the sheep in the quiet forest and thinking about what he would do should he see a wolf, he thought of a plan to amuse himself. So again, I'm seeing a pattern already. He's thinking of something else that he can do because he's bored to amuse himself. His master had told him to call for help should a wolf attack the flock, and the villagers would drive it away. So now, though he had not seen anything that even looked like a wolf, he ran toward the village, shouting at the top of his voice, "Wolf! Wolf!" I'm going to highlight this action that I noticed. He didn't come walking in casually or whispering. He ran in shouting at the top of his lungs. As he expected, the villagers who heard the cry dropped their work and ran in great excitement to the pasture. But when they got there, they found the boy doubled up with laughter at the trick he had played on them. Not just giggling, he's doubled over in laughter. A few days later, the shepherd boy again shouted, "Wolf, wolf!" Again, the villagers ran to help him, only to be laughed at again. I'm going to highlight this pattern. Here he goes again. Then, one evening, as the sun was setting behind the forest and the shadows were creeping out over the pasture, a wolf really did spring from the underbrush and fall upon the sheep. In terror, the boy ran toward the village, shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" But though the villagers heard the cry, they did not run to help him as they had before. "He cannot fool us again," they said. The wolf killed a great many of the boy's sheep and then slipped away into the forest. So I'm going to underline the boy's last action, this time in terror, but again running into the village shouting, "Wolf, wolf." However, I noticed that this time the villagers didn't help him, so that changed. And the last line, this kind of, I would say, is the turning point itself. The wolf killed a great many of his sheep and then slipped away. So even though the story doesn't tell us this is how the boy changed after that, I think we can really come up with some ideas and theories in our mind. Now that I'm done highlighting, and I didn't just highlight everything, I really, as you saw, highlighted what I felt really had to do with the main character and him and how he's changing. I'm going to go over here and click a sticky note. I'm going to stick to blue since this is still under lens 1. And I'm going to have one sticky note, and I just want to write down some of the things I noticed about the boy in the beginning, because I know he changed. So in the beginning of the fable, the boy was bored and found life dull all the time. He loved to amuse himself, and he seemed careless and thoughtless when it came to others. Beginning, the boy was bored and found life dull. He loved to amuse himself, and he seemed careless and thoughtless when it came to others. So those were a few details that I really noticed in the text and highlighted about what the boy was like earlier. I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to write one more sticky note about how the boy changed and my inferences. Remember, we talked about inferences earlier in the year. Even though it doesn't say this is how the boy changed, my inferences, my theories about how he did. So I'm going to type after the turning point. The boy probably felt guilty and embarrassed, I would think, and learned a hard lesson. Maybe the boy will now be more responsible and serious in the future. After the turning point, the boy probably felt guilty and embarrassed, and he learned a hard lesson. Maybe I should say due to learning a hard lesson. We can always edit as you go, you guys. Maybe the boy will now be more responsible and more serious in the future. I'll save that too. I'm canceling. I don't have another one. I like that Miss Lamera showed us how you can move it around and even make it bigger. It's okay if it kind of covers that. You can also click back in if you want to change your ad. That one was kind of at the beginning, so I'll put it there. And this one was more at the end, so I'll put it there. Awesome. So just to review really quick, in this video, we learned to annotate our fable, our text, using just one reading lens number 1, where we really paid attention to the main character, in this case, the boy. We paid attention to his character traits, actions, patterns, motivations, how he changed. We highlighted lines that felt like it could prove that for evidence for later. And we jotted down a few notes. You could do this on paper or in the sticky notes like I did. We just jotted down a few notes with our ideas specifically about that. If I close this and come back to it, this will all save for me. Please make sure that whether you do it on paper or on Jamboard, that you do this. Share it with your teacher if it's on Jamboard. And see my next video to see the second reading lens that we're going to look at to annotate your fable. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.